Hello. Welcome back. It's been a while since I've been on this channel. Since I think I had my last video where I talk about how I was misdiagnosed after 12 years, it took me back. And, I had to step back and think about, okay, what does this really mean? I am glad that it has a name. I am glad we figured this out and we are on the right path of figuring the whole picture out. But I am blind. That doesn't change. And I've accepted that. I've been accepting that. And I love who I am and what I do with it. So today I thought to get back into how I do things. The awaited video of how I do things as a blind digital artist. Like, what's my process? How do I go about it? What do I use? That kind of thing. And yeah, and I hope you really, really like it. And if you like it and enjoy it, please like and subscribe on this channel, Vamp Kitty 92's Art Space, and on my new channel, which is where I'm going to post most of my blindness stuff, related stuff, and our family stuff, how I do things as a blind person, all that, and disability awareness over there at Blind and Unfiltered. So you can check me out over there and like and share too, because we need more representation, and I'll get into that later. But so before I start on how I do things as a blind digital artist, the first thing you need to know is exactly what do I see and what can I not see, or what I can't see and what I can see. Okay? 90% of blind people do have remaining vision. Only 10% or less is like completely, total blindness. I am the step before total blindness, so more than legally blind, not complete blindness yet. And I have no visual acuity that's usable, besides maybe no visual acuity. No I was going to say 5 inches, but no. Visual acuity, I have none. Peripheral vision, I have none. I do have a central port, as you will, central vision type, but what I see is not counted as visual acuity or visual detail. It's just there. So I do have some light perception in it, and I do have some shadow perception in it. And basically how I describe what I see is like looking through very thick plexiglass with everything very desaturated. So I can kind of tell a shape within 5 inches from my face, but I can't see the detail, and I can't tell what's what, like exactly like who it is. I can't read faces or nothing like that anymore. And so that's exactly like how I see, how I can best describe it. So often, even on these tablets and screens and stuff, I put my face very close in order to try to see it, even with it being zoomed. So it takes a long time. These pieces that I make and I do take days. It's not hours, it's days. It takes days upon days, and I'm going to stress that. Okay, so for me, growing up, and thankfully I do have visual memory. Growing up, when I had prominently more sight than what I do now, I used to draw all the time. Art was my escape. Art was everything to me as a little kid. So I drew. A lot of people in my family drew a lot, and I loved it. I loved art, and I never really stopped. I just readapted each time. So let's back up. What I actually have, my eye disease, is called Septo Optic Dysplasia. I do have the optic nerve hypoplasia, and when discussing more with my team, they feel like it's more on septo optic dysplasia side because of how mine was progressive, and I do have pituitary issues and hormonal issues that also inquire my vision, because when I was going, I've always had bad eyesight, very low vision since birth, misaligned eyes since birth, and I had real big problems with my optic nerves all the time. And I had, at one point, severe pressure on my optic nerves, and I had to get a fringement surgery to fix my optic nerves. And at that time, they also did a strabismus surgery and went and tightened my muscles and aligned my eyes. Well, that recovery, I never really fully recovered from it. It was very, very difficult, and they let it be. And plus, I lived in a state that really did not have proper medical care or resources of any kind like that. So it was very dismissed. When I was a teenager, going through puberty and stuff like that, that's when I started noticing more and more of my vision loss. Hormones set in, more and more of my vision loss. And I'm extremely short, so I do have pituitary issues there, and PCOS and all the things hormonally. So it kind of aligned with it. And I am working with an endocrinologist and my ophthalmologist to really kind of push for the septo optic dysplasia diagnosis. And they are 98% sure that I have septo optic dysplasia, which I'm glad it has a name, and they told me what it was. It's not curable. So yeah, now it's time to just move on and go about readapting what I've lost already. And hopefully, I don't think I'm going to lose any more than what I got now, but you never know. Things could change in the future, and it definitely won't get better. Our healthcare is not that advanced. But yeah. So, with that tangent said, now how do I figure out how to readapt and do my art that I like? Number one, I've always retained visual memory. So muscle memory from drawing really did kind of kick in, and mental mapping and visually, I can visually bring up stuff that I remember kind of what they look like. Not fully, just kind of. So, like us all artists, we use references, but how do I pick out references for me if I can't see that much? Or if I can't see anything? So, I kind of have this small central field of vision in my central field on both eyes bilaterally, and it's only 5 inches. Again, it's very thick plexiglass blur, so there's no detail coming through. There's no color detailed coming through. It's all desaturated. Again, mostly shapes and shadow. And yeah, so how do I go about that? Number one, I use a screen reader on my Windows, on my computer here. And what I use is not JAWS, because JAWS is expensive. I don't even know why they make it that expensive. All accessible tech seems to be expensive, which sucks. So I use a program called NVDA, Non-Visual Display Access, and it is made by blind people for the blind, or at least so I was told. Not sure. And it is a free screen reader that does almost the exact same thing as JAWS. So I use that. I also use these. These are my Ray-Ban Meta AI glasses, and this I've been using here lately because it's really, really cool, and they've also partnered with Be My Eyes. but it can give detailed descriptions of things, such as pictures, and in my context, such as pictures, such as objects in front of me, such as labels, such as like colors. It can describe colors. Yeah, it may not always be right or it may not always be wrong, but for the most part, it hasn't let me down yet. Yeah, that's good. Sometimes it's wrong, sometimes it's not. I also, of course, just ask another sighted person to describe things to me. Or if the image is in alt text, like from a program in alt text, it will describe it to me through screen reader. But yeah, normally, and then I also do a lot of zooming in and zooming out and getting real close to zooming in. And so this is kind of how I've already picked out some references, and I'm going to show you what I can use and what I can't use because of my blindness, or my specific type of blindness anyways. Okay, so here I have a collage of random references that I just threw together real fast, and I'm going to go over as to which ones I can use and which ones I can't use, and how I go about it. And because I see light and shadow, I'm decently okay with contrast, but not in the contrast of like detail or color. It's more what kind of pops in shape for me. So this is how basically I go about it. And so in reference for the screen reader getting in the way, if I have it on, like if I have the desktop audio playing for you guys, you will see, you would probably get annoyed with this video. So in this context, you guys cannot hear my screen reader, but I can. And I will turn it on for you so you guys can hear what I'm saying, what I'm seeing about it. All right. So let's zoom in, because that's another process that I have to do, is I have to zoom in to figure it out. Let's start with, let's see. Okay, so anyway. Okay, move this so you guys can hear me. And alright, so the first one that we see over here, because I can tell, because I have a black background, where the kind of, I guess you could say, light area is. Alright, this entire reference right here does not work for me, because all I kind of pick up on it is black shape right here, and everything else is so white out that it blends in too much. So cannot use this reference right here. The next reference is a little more better, but again very difficult. I'd have to do a lot more zooming in, pixeling, and closeness to kind of see where everything is. But having the shadows and defined against the like lighting areas, I can kind of mentally think of a description and go by it, but based on its shape. So it kind of works and kind of doesn't, because sometimes when I'm stressed or straining too much, it kind of blends in and it monotones and grays completely out on me. Just like this next piece, it all blends in. So all I see here is like a grayed out blob, pretty much. So this one will not work. And this one kind of works, kind of doesn't work. It's in between. This one here, where there is more light and shadow combinations, or in my visual section here, I can kind of make out the shape of this, what it looks like to be a girl. And the background on this piece, it's not busy, it's not cluttered, so I can pretty much, like, when I glance at it into my field, I see this shape, so I can kind of work with it. And because they're shadows, like, I can tell where stuff kind of ends just a little bit and where stuff kind of begins. But again, it's strenuous. So this is working a little better. Now, okay, so like this one here, this reference also works for me. It's more like contrast between light and shadow for me, that I can tell where this picture is and darkness and light is. So this one works for me. Cannot see the details, obviously, but again, it's more about mentally knowing your object and kind of guessing. You can kind of guess about it, or at least for me. I don't know how to really explain it. And this one here is also a good one, thanks to its dark tones against a light space. And again, as far as the other things goes, like, it's more guessing into things, where they go, where they belong. And that's where visual memory kind of kicks in and helps with. This one, which this what area right here kind of blends in, so it makes it difficult. But the next one here also doesn't work because it's too almost desaturated, and there's like little bits here and there of light, like light over here, light here, and everything else kind of like just gets disheveled in my eyes. So cannot use this one. This one, I do kind of see a shape. So I can kind of work with this shape and figure out what pose she is in, or he, who knows. But right now, I'm just going based on gut and from what the screen reader had said beforehand, my meta classes. So this has nice contrast to where this works for me. Again, can't really gather detail, but again, that's like putting together a piece of puzzle for me. And this one here kind of works in shape context. I see a black shape silhouette of a person against a light background. So I can kind of see the shape, nothing else in this photo. But yeah, this is kind of how, like, it's a trial and error, and it takes me so long to find references of what I'm thinking, what I want to do. That is, number one, accessible. Number two, easy to communicate. And three, does it work for my field of vision that I have? But this is how I kind of go about picking out references.
Controls window. Start recording button.
So to give you guys an example of how my screen reader reads in conjunction with my Ray-Ban Meta glasses, here is an example. And yes, I'm going to turn it on for you. but be prepared.
Start purge mute desktop audio properties for desktop audio.
So, example.
Settings clock for desktop.
When I'm on here,
Embed ref scene.png at 16.7%.
it's reading.
RGB/8 number star.
It's on
control,
layer 1.
pane.
Okay. And
Brushes.
it can read the brushes label, but it cannot read the panels because I know the brushes are next to the panels, because it's all about memorization on where you put how you flow with your workspace. And if you memorize your workspace, you kind of can memorize exactly where all the tools are. And that's exactly what I've done, but it took a lot of trial and error to get it to where it's fixable. But yeah, so here is how I use when it doesn't read, like it's not reading.
Brushes, panel icon, search brushes.
So it's asking me to search brushes because I'm on the search panel. So if I go down, I know the brushes are down here somewhere. So because it won't read like any kind of custom brushes, or it just won't read any brushes, which Photoshop, Adobe, come on. You've got some of your panels accessible to screen readers. Please make all of them. So here is an example how I use my Ray Meta Band glasses to figure out what panel sources I'm on, or brushes, how to find brushes with Ray Meta Band glasses. Hey Meta, look, what is my cursor pointing to?
Your cursor is pointing to the line art option.
Thank you. So, yeah. So, that's an example of how I use it to find the brushes that I want. I usually just ask it and just keep scrolling down.
Line down moves the vertical position down one line.
It will find the panel it takes to go up and down.
Line down moves the vertical position down one line.
Okay.
Color.
It will find the color palette. Again, you'll see how I use the Ray Meta Band glasses to find color here in a minute. It will not read the layer panel. So I always have my layers underneath the color and navigator. I have the color and navigator together, even though I don't even use the navigator. So the underneath my color panel happens to be the layer panel. So I will get Ray Meta Band glasses to figure out what layer am I on if I suddenly forgot what the screen reader had said when the when the thing is pulled up. Hey Meta, what layer is my cursor pointing on?
Okay to take a picture?
Yes.
Your cursor is pointing on layer 1.
Okay. So, yeah. That's how I would use it to describe that. I'm going to show you how I use my Ray Meta Band glasses to help me figure out what colors I am looking at on the screen on my color palette. Okay. So first things all, I have to ask it, literally. Hey Meta, look, what color is my cursor pointing to?
Your cursor is pointing to a green color.
Thank you. Pretty simple, right? Okay. Now I have the desktop audio off, so you guys cannot hear the annoying screen reader, but I can. And okay, so now I'm going to talk about how I work on a blank canvas, or I just start. This is where a lot of my mental mapping really kind of comes into play, because luckily for me, I have it on dark mode, and I can kind of see, again, picking up the light from the white page. I kind of know that when I'm pulled up a new file, the white areas is light that shows up, and it's like right here. So what I do is mentally map like where I kind of want a character to go, and I know based on orientation that like up here is closer to the top, here's like the middle, because it's in the middle of the screen, and here is the bottom. But you know, I also zoom in, and this is where when I start to draw, it's literally like zoomed in, and I'm putting together a puzzle piece. And then I'm zooming it out and asking, and I'm zooming in, and I'm keep going until I get to the process of like rendering and coloring, like here. And yes, so basically when I draw, it's like I find what I want, and I can also have this read real quick so I can make the brushes like a little bit small. I kind of think about how big the character is to the page, where do I want it, and just start. I always practice circles, squares, triangles, and cylinders, always. And they may not always be correctly in line with each other. They may be scribbled on a page. They may be just doodling, pretty much, or say. But it keeps my mind focused. It keeps my mind concentrating on muscle memory on how to draw these things. And then I just keep manipulating shapes and shapes and shapes. And as far as detail within the drawing, it's more about visual memory than it is also about referencing to it, and lots of description is being read out to me. So that is kind of how I actually draw on the paper, and I just keep going, and this process takes days. Again, I've said this multiple times. It is not simple. I can't just draw within 30 minutes. It takes a while because I'm literally forming together a puzzle piece in my head and also on the paper, because when I'm actually doing like a thing and drawing, let's see if I can get a new, so I can show you kind of how I sketch out a face just a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna, in this context, just start out normal, mentally map where I have my pen, where I want to start, and I am lightly pressing. That's the beauty of pen tablets. I can use pressure sensitivity, but it has to be where, and I'm also like, sorry, almost turned my mic off. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I'm like right next to it. So I am going to zoom in because I know I done a circle based on my hands motion. So let me just keep going with the circle and get really close. And yeah, this is probably not good for my eyes already, but my eyes are bad enough, so it don't matter to me. I like doing it. Don't judge me. So I will just draw a deep dark line so that I know where, kind of what I'm thinking the middle of the face is, or how I want the face is. And then I'm going across, and then I'm making the chin again, really just kind of like this, and coming around again, keep going up, and I keep doing this formation. So now it kind of has the basic shape of a face, because I used to draw them a lot, so I kind of visually remember exactly kind of what in the vicinity of it is. Is it perfect? No. Am I like the best artist in the world? Absolutely not. I used to draw way better than what I do now, and I have lost some due to, my vision. But it's all about readapting and relearning what I need to do. So, yeah, that's kind of basically how I find my place on the canvas. And also, like, afterwards, if it's too big for the page or I feel like it needs to be readjusted, of course, it's like either asking or getting descriptive, texting, or there's always liquefy. There's always like scaling down and moving. That's the beauty of digital art, is I can manipulate it. And these are just some of the techniques that I use for that. Rendering is the last step, and it's generally very much the same. It's all about how I organize and, again, piecing together the puzzle and layering it up. That's exactly how I color. And coloring is a challenge. Luckily, like, the beauty of clipping mask is I cannot go outside what I want to color or the spectrum, which is something I use 100% of the time. I probably use way more clipping masks than I should, but yeah, I do that. And even on my like layered panels, I group them into shades that are different, so I know, based on when I get really, really close, what kind of layers I am on. Sorry you can't hear me, but yeah, please don't mind the audio. It is like it wants to pick up, but then it doesn't want to pick up. But yeah, so it's all about piecing together the puzzle piece. Again, coloring in, rendering in, that is a layering process and a very long process, just like drawing, and I piece it together just like drawing. So the same thing I do is I take sections and be zooming in like this and zooming in, zooming in, zooming in. Sometimes zooming in too much to where it becomes pixelated, but at least that's what I've been told. This is just how I do it. So when I am piecing together a piece, I'm kind of just going about it and literally zooming in like this and coloring it down and clipping masking it so that I can piece it together and layer it. And keeping them organized for me has been a lifesaver. And it probably is a lifesaver for all artists. Like, keep your stuff organized so you know where everything is. Again. And for me, when I do the layering and the grouping and stuff, like, I have to, like, change its, I color them. Yeah, I think it's called coloring. But yeah, I put a color on them to let them know what group there is. No, I can't tell between the colors, but I can, by their desaturation, tell that they are different and memorize which one is which. Memorization. Also, the Ray Metaband glasses lets me know what layer I'm on, as you just seen. So that's how I also render as well and use it for coloring and color organization. And I just keep on going like this and up and down and just keep going and keep working at it until eventually it just pieces itself together almost. And that's kind of how I render. Not the best, fanciest way to describe stuff, I'm sorry, but this is just how I do it. Not everybody does it the same, but like, I have to zoom in really, really close. I have to be really, really close, and it's a slow process, but it's piecing together until it comes together. And yeah, sometimes I don't like the pieces. Sometimes I do. We artists are our worst critic. Okay, that kind of sums up how I do stuff as a blind digital artist, or at least my process Everyone does it differently, everyone has it differently, and every blind person sees differently. We are not the same. So how I do stuff may not work for every blind person, but this is just my way of doing things and how I do it and how I adapt to what I have left and what I use. So yeah, and I hope you really, really liked it. And I hope you like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you do. And all the support means the world to me. And we need representation, and I'm trying to do that for us. Because, yes, there's plenty blind artists out there, and a lot of us don't have representation or nowhere to turn, so we're not on anything like this. And we stay pretty quietly about it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Yay, thumbs up. And if you are a person who's blind and likes art, just know it's a lot about adaptation, because you can figure it out. You can do it. There are a lot of things that you can do in the art world when you are blind and visually impaired, such as still digital art. You can make it work with a lot of screen readers and adaptive tech and assistive tech. You can do clay work and touch and feel and do that. I've seen back when I was like painting, like I could feel the canvas. There's lots of different ways we can explore this type of work and medium. So keep going. That's all I can say. Readapt, relearn new skills, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video.